Hey guys, I just saw Dark Phoenix and I have a lot of mixed feelings about the film, leaning towards negative, but there are a lot of parts I really liked in this film, and that's why it pains me to walk out with such an unpleasant feeling. So, first off, let's talk about the positives. I thought the performances were all excellent. I saw this in IMAX 3D because there was a deal on T-Mobile, and it was worth it. The sounds were really fun to experience. Visually, it was great. There's a lot of cool looking energy textures, and even the close ups of the actors were all really enhanced by being on that bigger screen. Everything that happens, I could understand what was happening, so the general rough plot was interesting, and I thought they actually did take a lot of risks in this film with the way certain characters are portrayed. I thought there was so much potential in the way it was set up, and I actually really like the first half of the movie. Yes, there are pacing issues that become really apparent in the second half, but at least in the first half, every character is dealing with their own personal demon or flaw, and it's interesting. What I really also enjoyed was the horror vibe. The music and the pacing gave this feeling that something bad was about to happen, and it felt like a horror movie, and some scenes were just a lot of fun, like they usually are. Now, where this movie really falls apart is the second half and the execution of the story. Again, I said the general beats are good, but there's not enough time or finesse in the way it's executed. Things happen in a way that you're not organically on board yet. You understand why they would do this, but you haven't really experienced it with them enough to follow them on that journey. This happens multiple times, and I think the problem is there are actually too many different strands going on and not enough focus on any one of them. I would say the main focus around Jean Grey is one of the weakest strands because I actually don't like where they took it. It kind of takes responsibility away from her, and before we can really empathize with her, we have to understand whether this entity called the Phoenix, whether it's really feeding on her existing demons or if it's making her do things she genuinely doesn't want to do. Because if it's making her do things she doesn't want to do, then it's not her fault. And the whole time, the movie doesn't really make it explicitly clear what she's feeling versus what she's being convinced to feel. And it was just all very muddled. That's another problem, was that sometimes this film was very on the nose in how characters felt and what they wanted. But for a large part of it, I feel like it was being too clever for its own good. The writing is actually very subtle at parts, probably too subtle, and you have to work to fill in the blanks. And genuinely, that's a mark of a pretty good writer if they're not handing you everything. But in this case, it just relies too heavily on knowing what happens in all the previous films. There's no way you can glean what their relationships are just by this movie. They will try to give you a hint by a look or just a line saying something like, yeah, we are pretty close, aren't we? But then we don't know, are they past lovers? Are they current lovers? Are they friends? Are they best friends? If we don't know the nature of their relationship and something bad happens later, we're just unsure how to feel, and that happens over and over again. Now, I've seen all the X-Men movies, so I could infer it, but for many people that haven't, I don't know how you follow this movie, and movies aren't supposed to rest on prior movies. Even if it's a sequel, it should be more properly set up. It's not a standalone story, but it's been a while, and we're introducing very new ideas and new directions for all the characters. It needs to explain itself. It needs to have clarity. So overall, it really wasn't as bad as I thought it would because I had already seen some of the reviews and they were really hating on it. There's a lot of things to like, but the ending is just, it really let me down. It's very generic. Nothing really surprised me. And pacing was just very off. It was very slow, and it's actually bearable because the actors are so good, because visually it looks so cool, and some of the action is really great too. But when you don't have a good story told in an efficient and interesting way, then everything else falls apart, unfortunately. I can't really recommend this film, but if you do go see it, I think you will find some things you like, but prepare to feel a little sleepy at parts and maybe feel pretty disappointed. The performances are still all really good and almost make it worth a watch. That's all I have. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.